awardee from Myanmar, Seng. We would like to welcome our distinguished panelists, headed by our trustee moderator, Ambassador Delia Albert, our awardee, Seng, and the panelist reactor, Professor Miriam Coronel Ferrer, the chair of the Government Peace Panel. Welcome to everyone, and I'd like to thank you all for setting time to attend this lecture. To the students of the University of Manila from the Human Development Department of the University of Manila, thank you all for coming. At this point, before we start the lecture proper, I would like to introduce the moderator who will help us facilitate the 2-hour lecture. Our moderator for this morning's lecture is our Board of Trustees and at present the senior consultant of the CSIP Gores and Velayo Company. Ambassador Delia Albert is the first Woman Secretary, the First Minister of the Department of Foreign Affairs of the Philippines, serving in the post during the period of 2003 and 2004. A seasoned career diplomat, she has represented the country in various capacities in Switzerland, Hungary, Romania, the ASEAN, and has served as the Philippine Ambassador to the Commonwealth of Australia and the Federal Republic of Germany. She has likewise carried the portfolios of Presidential Advisor for Multilateral Cooperation and Development and Presidential Envoy for Mining. At present, she continues to promote the Philippine development as the Senior Advisor of SGV and Company Ernst & Young. Welcome to everyone, and I now turn over the floor to our trustee moderator, Ambassador Delia Albert.
Thank you, Chiclet, and good morning. And perhaps my qualification for sitting here is that I've visited your beautiful country twice as foreign minister, and one of my most memorable activities was to pour cold water over your minister, who he was prime minister, and I could pour cold water. But it was safe to do so because it was the water festival. So I got away with it. Thank you. In 2004, the Philippines was elected as one of the non-permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. Those of you who are familiar, the Security Council of the United Nations is the highest political body in the UN system. I was then Secretary of Foreign Affairs, I had the privilege to chair the Council on an agenda which I believed was of relevance and significance to our country. Thus, I chose the agenda topic, quote, the role of civil society in post-conflict peace building. This was 2004. For that session, I invited 2 NGOs to sit with us in the Security Council. It wasn't easy to do that, but as the chair, I was told by Mr. Kofi Annan, I can do anything I wanted. So I did that. As if by design, the same year launched the Cardoso Report, commissioned by the United Nations, which highlighted that, quote, constructively engaging with civil society is a necessity for the United Nations and not an option, end of quote. What a coincidence that today I am privileged to introduce an example of someone from civil society who actually is engaged in playing a role in post-conflict peace building in a country that suffered a lot of displacements after decades of internal conflict. This morning, Lahpai Seng will speak on the topic, quote, advancing peace through inclusive development, end of quote. She will share with us the programs and experiences and hopes of the Meta Development Foundation, an independent non-government organization whose driving force is the concept behind the word metta, which means loving kindness. That's very typical of your country, I think. Loving kindness is what you feel when you arrive in Yangon. Following the lecture of Lahpai, we are honored by the participation of Dr. Miriam Coronel Ferrer, the chair of the Philippine Government Peace Panel, from the Office of the Presidential Advisor on the Peace Process, who will be our discussant. She will give a commentary on the presentation of Lahpai and may relate Philippine experience in the ongoing peace process. Dr. Ferrer, like our speaker, has been active with non-government organizations, particularly as lead convener of a network of organizations promoting the observance of the Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and International Law, an agreement made between the Philippine government and the National Democratic Front. A bit of advertisement. This public lecture is part of the Ramon Magsaysay Award lecture series under the new program of the Ramon Magsaysay Award Foundation, known as the Magsaysay Institute of Transformative Leadership, or MITL. I will now give the floor to our main speaker, Lahpai Seng.
Magandang umaga. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Alo Wingalaba. It is my great privilege to be with you this morning at this lecture series, which honors one of your greatest presidents. Soon after establishing the Meta Development Foundation in 1990s, after establishing the Meta Development Foundation in 1990s, I visited the Philippines to study the Farmer Field School program. It proved to be a very fruitful visit, as my Farmer Field School studies formed the basis of Meta's work of coordinating ethnic groups that have reached ceasefire agreements with the government and faith-based groups to participate in development programs for farmers and communities in their areas. The social integration of former soldiers, representatives of faith traditions, and farmers provide a strong platform for community cohesion, contributing to peace and economic prosperity for the respective communities. Faith-based groups have been the mainstay for destitute and desperate communities throughout all the years of conflict. And more often than not, armed groups have had to rely on farmers as their main source of food. At the same time, it was determined from the outset that Meta would be an independent, non-governmental organization that would work with all peoples and faiths. Candidates selected by ceasefire groups and community-based organizations are trained as FFS facilitators. Former soldiers turned facilitators now come to the field and work alongside their previous benefactors, the farmers, showing them how to achieve greater control over the conditions they face daily in their fields. At harvest time, each field school organizes a field day and invites local authorities, village elders, and nearby villagers to witness the achievements of the field school and its participants, the farmers. Civil authorities and military representatives witness how the farmer field schools have brought farmers and villagers together and how they can strengthen village institutions and civil society at the village level around the practical issues of farming with measurable results of increased yields. Another rebuilding tool used in MITA's fieldwork is participatory action research. PAR, for short, PAR provides communities with the means to identify their resources and needs. Projects based on the outcome of such an analysis are known as PAR projects. These are generally small-scale and related to the priorities of the local villages as set by themselves in the process. The participating families themselves choose management community members, which also provide the project local credibility. These families are fully involved in all stages of implementation, creating transparency and accountability. In the process, the members are encouraged to become decision makers. MITA provides the appropriate skill training necessary for the successful outcome of the project. Following Cyclone Nagas in 2008, which devastated large areas of the Awardee Delta and ethnic Kachin and Po'o facilitators left their homes in the borderlands to introduce Farmer Field School in the Delta area, forging partnerships across geographic and cultural boundaries. The degree of experience and cooperation built up among project participants during this period is such that MITA's post-tsunami area coordinator became the chairman of the Nagas relief work for 13 villages in Didugon district in the Awardee Delta. Some of the FFS area coordinators and farmer leaders have also become elected village heads in other areas where MITA runs programs. As we have learned through such experiences, the most rewarding outcome of both the FFS and PAR projects has been the emergence of local community-based organizations that have gone on to take up other development initiatives. I'm therefore particularly pleased that the Magsaysay Foundation highlighted MITA's work in empowering communities and supporting local organizations. Our vision has always been based on these two principles, which we believe are the foundations for a new society in Myanmar. This new society is very alert and active today, and local organizations and communities are playing a vital role in efforts to regenerate our country. Of course, from time to time, we have encountered constraints in the operational context in such problem areas as registration with different stakeholders, a limited availability of funds, and a focus by donors on short-term service delivery projects that limit the time and resources available to local organizations for institutional capacity building. All these factors reduce the opportunities for small-scale next-layer organizations and thus limit opportunities for wider civil society strengthening. In MITA's work, strengthening civil society means the flourishing and effective delivery of NGO CBO groups. This does not need to be a particular end goal, but simply the meeting of needs and challenges that will ultimately help the strengthening of communities, society, and the country. For too many years in a country divided by conflict and underachievement, the opportunity for strengthening civil society has not been as realistic a goal to achieve as it is in the present moment of political transition in Myanmar. Although not the only element, the role of civil society is vital in the processes of societal development and transition. On a wet, gray day in April 1990, I witnessed 27 young men joining the Kitchen Independence Organization, the KIO, and I took a photo of them. All these years, I have wondered what had happened to them in the intervening years. Questions have often haunted me, such as, where are they? What are their aspirations today? Their regrets and hopes. Then this June, I unexpectedly met up with 4 of them. We discussed their vision for civilian life when peace eventually comes. They all said that they wish for a small piece of arable land to walk on, to be independent, and to be able to provide for their families. All 4 emphasized that they do not want to be an added burden to their wives, who have carried the burden of supporting their families during all these years of suffering and conflict. Needless to say, peace agreements cannot endure unless demobilized soldiers from all sides find worthwhile livelihood opportunities to reintegrate them into society and help support their families and communities. One of the aims of the Magsaysay Award is to place living examples of inspiring leadership and service before the public. From them, present and future generations may draw courage, challenge, and hope. In our country, educational opportunities for our young people have been overlooked for much too long. I'm proud to say that the young people whom I had helped to receive non-formal education opportunities in neighboring countries when I was working at the Representative Office of Kitchen Affairs in Bangkok in the 90s have returned to the communities and are serving them. But these are only a few instances compared to the needs of all the rural youth with very limited or no opportunities to attain life skills or vocational education in our country. I hope, therefore, that with the growth of civil society sector, more opportunities may open up with short training courses in such subjects as management, healthcare, agriculture, early childhood care, and livelihood skills. Let me share a story of an extraordinary young man with you. In 1988, Norja, a young high school dropout from a conflict-torn area, was offered the opportunity to study in India through the scholarship program I was coordinating from Bangkok. He ended up staying in India until 1994, completing 1.5 years of distance education through the Indira Gandhi University, followed by 10 months of vocational training in agriculture. This was a turning point in his life because he discovered a passion for agriculture, and by 2000, he was involved in the first MITA's FFS Training of Trainers program. He then coordinated over 1,000 farmer field schools and became the manager of MITA's Training and Research Center. Subsequently, between 2009 and 2010, he was awarded a scholarship and obtained a bachelor degree in development studies from Kimmage Development Studies Center in Ireland. He is now one of 4 leaders taking over the reins of MITA after my retirement. There are many young people in the same situation as Norja who could contribute in a significant way to the peace and long-term development of the country if only they are given the right opportunities. Now is an especially important time in Myanmar. I do believe that there are positives in many of the changes presently underway in our country. But unfortunately, I need to point out that there have also been setbacks in the Kachin and Northern Shan states and other parts of the country, including the Rakhine state. In particular, over the years, the Mitra Development Foundation and local communities had been involved in helping rehabilitate and resettle some 450 villages in the Northern Shan and Kachin states following the KIO ceasefire with the government in 1994. However, 70 of these villages are now deserted, with many burned to the ground, as the ceasefire with Kachin was not sustained. After 17 years, fighting resumed in June 2011, with the result that Kachin villagers fleeing the conflict now make up a population of 100,000 internally displaced persons in the Kachin state and Northern Shan. As a result, following decades of conflict, there are presently over 500,000 refugees and internally displaced persons around Myanmar, and their health and humanitarian needs are immense, as with all vulnerable populations in our country. This cycle of displacement and resettlement has yet to be permanently broken. Myanmar has so many lessons to learn from the legacies of political failure, internal conflict, and failed ceasefires during past decades. Without lasting peace, there can be no real advancement. Urgent and strategic attention is therefore needed if the failures of the past are not to be repeated. Experience has taught us that ceasefire alone will not be enough to initiate political transformation on the scale that is needed. I am thus encouraged during the present time of political transition by community, ethnic, military, national and government leaders all expressing their willingness to engage in dialogue to find lasting solutions for peaceful coexistence and harmony among peoples of different backgrounds. I do believe that the current political system can be reformed to bring true democracy and ethnic peace, but without solidarity, advocacy, and understanding, little will change. On this basis, I trust that the Magsaysay Award, conferred to me at this crucial period in our nation's history, will help draw national and international attention to the ongoing efforts to find lasting solutions for genuine peace. And I will continue to be involved, wherever possible, in coordinating efforts to resolve the underlying political grievances of the ethnic nationalities and ensure that the voices of the common people are heard in the ongoing peaceful transformation process. On this occasion, I therefore wish to pay tribute to my many colleagues, friends, family, and partners at home and abroad, especially those in the conflict-affected and suffering regions of our country. For many years, we have walked alongside each other in the most isolated and neglected areas of Myanmar, with such impoverished people as former refugees, internally displaced persons, and those adversely affected by poppy cultivation and abuse. We have also lent our support to communities devastated by natural disasters, including Cyclone Nargis and Cyclone Giri, that brought such tragedy to so many people. Through our work, we have striven to bring to the forefront the complexities of the humanitarian and socio-political challenges that the peoples of Myanmar face and the reward of partnership and cooperation. Let us now build on these past experiences and continue to work harder to set standards for future generations to emulate. I know that my decision to pledge my prize money towards projects that will protect the Misong area in northern Myanmar and provide sustainable livelihood opportunities for local communities will not come as a surprise nor meet with your disapproval, because it is in keeping with our commitment to work with the poor and the disadvantaged people. To my new friends, Miso refers to the confluence area in the Kachin state where two rivers converge to form the Awardee River that flows through Myanmar as the lifeblood of the nation. Miso is the heart and soul of the Kachin people. Kachin history and culture are richly intertwined with it. Moreover, the Awardee River is the common thread that binds together the citizens of the Union. From its source in the far north, along its path through the Central Plains and the Delta region, before it flows into Andaman Sea. As a popular Myanmar saying goes, the Awardee is like a mother who feeds all Myanmar's citizens. Today, the area is under threat from a dam project that poses grave dangers to its delicate ecosystem, its culture and religious heritage sites, and its communities, who could be displaced and deprived of their lands and livelihoods. The dam project was suspended under presidential orders in 2011, but there are indications that the resumption of construction could be imminent. I am therefore most grateful to the Magsaysay Foundation for providing me not only with the opportunity to help protect Miso through the prize money, but also a powerful forum to publicize the need for transparent and ethical processes that truly address economic and environmental issues to the benefit of the local communities and nation. Of course, after decades of strife, the peoples of Myanmar want livelihood progress and social development. But in a land of abundant human and natural resource potential, it is also vital that new projects are appropriate, sustainable, and in consultation with the local peoples. The mistakes of the past should not be repeated. Finally, because Myanmar is relatively new and unfamiliar to much of the international community, I would like to take this opportunity to urge international donors and agencies to learn from the experience of the past and to subscribe to the principles of empowering communities and working with local organizations while in Myanmar. Future progress and national stability will depend on it. My fervent hope is that peace will prevail, all displaced persons return home, appropriate development bloom evenly, and that the Awardee will continue to flow for all time. I pray that achieving these goals can help unite all the citizens of Myanmar and build a lasting peace for future generations. There is no time to lose. Thank you for your attention and interest. Thank you very much.
Former Ambassador, Secretary Delia Albert, officers and staff of the Ramon Magsaysay Foundation, Madam Lahpai, Seng, students, NGO workers, people in the private and public sectors, Mengalaba, good morning to everyone. At the time when NGOs are put under severe scrutiny for involvement in scams related to the pork barrels of several members of our Congress, here comes Meta to remind us that indeed there are very good NGOs, as there are bad, and I mean very, very bad NGOs. Under the leadership of Lahpai, Seng, Meta has proven to be a very, very good NGO indeed. It uses approaches like the Farmer Field School and the Participatory Action Research to generate and harness the empowerment of local people. It is preparing the next generation leadership of its own organization as well as of its country to ensure sustainability of what it has started. Its approach is constructive, as shown in the values it put in consultations and dialogues. Its integrity is intact, not tainted by the kinds of atrocities involving fake NGOs that has come to light with the recent expose involving Janet Lim Napoles, who, we are pleased, is now rightfully in jail for her crimes against the people. Although Meta's services are essentially humanitarian, on this basis it responds to various sources of humanitarian disasters: natural, such as Cyclone Nargis; social, communal conflicts, for instance, between Muslims and Buddhists in the Rakhine region and elsewhere; and political, transitioning from war to negotiated political settlements, from military rule to various modes of power sharing in governance institutions. In all of these triggers of human insecurity, natural disasters, social disturbances, and political violence, Meta showed that human dignity should prevail, and it can prevail. Not surprisingly, Seng Rao's life work was hinged on the importance of education and livelihood to restore and protect people's dignity. Truly, local people must be supported to regain control of their lives. They need to enjoy autonomy, not dependency, as individuals and groups. Local people must not be placed under the control of other forces with overriding agenda that will only swallow them. Although a big NGO, Meta's goal appears not to become meta nor mega, but to localize from macro to micro level so that local capacity is built. I hope our own big NGOs do not lose sight of this goal, such that they become bureaucracies themselves, content with sitting in their offices and writing project proposals rather than being out there in the communities. Now, let me now go to another point that also relates to our current discourse on civil society resulting from the pork barrel and the fake NGO scam. The social media triggered, quote-unquote, leaderless massive mobilization in Luneta on August 26 has unduly pitted individual citizen action against organized civil society organizations or CSO-led mobilizations. Meta reminds us that one cannot do without the other. There is need for both. Citizen and CSOs, civil society organizations together, make for a very vibrant civil society. Citizens take action in selective moments, but the long, hard work of political and social transformation requires full-time, sustained, coordinate, organized, and everyday work. Facebook, Twitters, the new media are effective mobilizing tools. But change has to happen in real life. Spontaneous rallies triggered by anger have to be translated into actual reforms. There will always be need for a Seng Rao and the Meta. Let me move on to a third theme addressed by our awardee today. You know, if you're recognizing a woman for her life work, one who was born in the tumult of her country's immediate post-independence days, grew up under a military dictatorship, survived the various upheavals that rocked her country, 88, the ethnic wars from north to south and east to west of Myanmar, lived in exile working with refugees, and through hard work became a leading light in the slow, gradual democratization process of her country. There are bound to be many themes in her life. If she was able to cover all these themes in her short speech, because she is probably like the Irrawaddy River, flowing through the turns and depths of her country's journey to well-being. This third theme is a matter closer to my work now as government peace negotiator, a stepping back from my life as independent academic, peace advocate, and a student of civil society and social movements. As I hope many of you know, we are in the last stages of our negotiations with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. In October, we signed the framework agreement on the Bangsamoro and have completed 2 of the 4 annexes that will form part of the comprehensive agreement, the annex on transitional arrangements on modalities and on wealth sharing. But we still have yet to work on the annex on power sharing and normalization. All of these leading to the creation of a new Bangsamoro political entity that will replace the current autonomous region in Muslim Mindanao, and the transformation of an armed group into a civilian group, civil society organization, a political party, all part of the social movement that they have begun as revolutionaries. On this arena, I take to heart these words from Seng Rao, which I saw in different parts of her speech. Without lasting peace, there can be no real advancement. Failures of the past are not to be repeated. Ceasefires alone will not be enough to initiate political transformation on the scale that is needed. Engage in dialogue to find lasting solutions for peaceful coexistence and harmony among peoples of different backgrounds. Resolve the underlying political grievances of the ethnic minorities. All these resonate to us who have been seeing through the peace process. They are just as true for Mindanao and Myanmar's Kachin, Mon, Karen, Rakhine, Shan regions. Our two countries, our multiple peoples, our plural societies have much need to support each other in our quest for a just and lasting peace. Again, my heartfelt congratulations to our awardee, Lahpai Seng. Though not personally acquainted, I have had the chance to work and discuss in Nepal, Rangoon, Bangkok, the other women members of the Shalom Foundation, where Seng is also a board member. I've also had quiet and serious discussions with various ethnic movement leaders, including the Kachin armed groups. The issue of peace and meaningful autonomy for the ethnic minorities of Myanmar is just as close to my heart as the issues that we now are trying to address in our peace negotiations with different armed groups. Thus, it is my privilege to come up close with this Myanmar lady, Lahpai Seng. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dao Lahpai and Professor Coronel Ferrer. You may notice how colorful we are on stage. It takes 3 women to talk about post-conflict peace building. Compared to the time I had to insist to speak on this agenda in the Security Council of the United Nations, I was the only colorful one. The rest looked like penguins. They had dark suits and white shirts. But that being said, I am delighted to see a kind of a parallel between 2 ASEAN neighbors who are coping with issues that confront society at large. Certainly we have noticed the role of several sectors of society which have to work together. You have government, you have NGOs. Well, as you said today, NGO has a different color. Perhaps we should stick to civil society and the academe. And I'm delighted that we have a number of students here because I think that the future of our region, especially as they discuss the importance of peace to ensure development of our area, is crucial and should be taken on very seriously by the next generation. The older ones, like us, like me anyway, have had mistakes in the past, and that we should learn from those mistakes. I would like to open this forum now to an open dialogue. The latest word today is conversations. So please feel that this is an open dialogue, this is a conversation, and I was just informed that this is on live stream through our website, and that we have participants from Malaysia, Myanmar, London, other parts of the Philippines. So with that warning and announcement, may I open the floor to a discussion. Perhaps my role is to open it. I'm sure many of you have heard about Burma, Myanmar. One of the first things I asked Dao Lahpai when she arrived was to ask her, should I refer it to Burma or should I refer it to Myanmar? First things first. So perhaps let's listen to what she has to say, whether we should say Burma or should we say Myanmar?
For us, the citizens of Burma, Myanmar, Myanmar is more, I would say, literally correct. It's an Burma. Burma is more colloquial language. So we used to, grow up with calling our country Myanmar Nangan in Burmese. And so when it switched to Burma, to Myanmar, for us it's not changed. So for us, it's Burma or Myanmar is the same, and that Myanmar is more, I would say correct, and Burma will be more colloquial sense.
Thank you. As a political scientist, are there no political implications when you say Burma or Myanmar? I'm sorry, I'm pressing on this because many of us, when we write or when we read, we always ask ourselves, should I put Burma or should I put Myanmar? In the ASEAN, of course, where we go by the alphabet, if I were Burmese, I'd say I'm B, so I'm up there. But in the ASEAN tradition, I think it's Myanmar that is being used. So I note that there is really no political implication, no vestiges of colonial influence on the use of one word or the other. Anyone to follow that up? Are we clear? Please take to the floor and give us your name, please.
Good morning to all of you. I have two questions to ask. The first is in relation to Ambassador Albert's query just now with regard to the proper and appropriate term to be used, whether Burma or Myanmar. First of all, my name is Rasti Delizo. I am from the Free Burma Coalition Philippines. I'm with the steering committee. I'm also with San Lakas. I have been involved in the Free Burma Solidarity movement since 1989-90, especially after the August 8, 1988 revolutionary uprising in Burma that was drowned in blood. I have come across many comrades from the various resistance organizations, both inside and outside Burma. And I recall in the early 1990s and the mid-1990s, several of these leaders, I can mention perhaps Prime Minister, for example, the Prime Minister in exile at the time, Dr. Sein Win of the National Coalition Government of the Union of Burma, NCGUB, and also leaders of the National Council of the Union of Burma, NCUB, told some of us, my comrades here in Manila, that the proper term to use is Burma from a political context usage. And their explanation was that if you use Myanmar, that means you recognize the dictatorship. If you use Burma, you recognize the continuing struggle for freedom and democracy of the peoples of Burma and not just the majority Bamar ethnic nationality. That was the explanation put to us 20 years ago, and that's why I'd like to raise this in relation to what Ambassador Albert queried, because I know that continues to be a point of, if not contention, a point of basic query even among the solidarity organizations worldwide today. So that's one. Secondly, my main point here is, while I do recognize that there are many organizations that continue to fight for real democracy and freedom in Burma today, I'll use Burma, I am now worried that with the open aggressiveness and influx of so-called big capitalist investors, not just from the ASEAN, but from the European Union and North America, specifically the USA, I can expect that a future neoliberal macroeconomic policy framework will soon be imposed, if not by the Thein Sein regime, but by perhaps a post-Thein Sein regime, in the sense that a neoliberal economic policy framework will only create far more oppression and exploitation, as it is the case today all across the regions of the world. And this is the case put on paper by no less than the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, that says that the neoliberal policy framework has created a lot of displacements, unemployment, people losing their jobs, etc. And as a result, the poor majority can no longer accept and integrate into a democratic society that is supposed to be a society for all, so to speak. Unfortunately, countries like East Timor, South Africa, and Palestine.
I think we may have to.
Okay, I'll wrap it up right now.
Yes,
the point I'd like to raise here is that the neoliberal economic policy framework is a dangerous economic policy prescription. And I want to know if the majority of the people's organizations and NGOs and the mass movement in Burma today are recognizing this potential threat once the threat of civil political rule is stabilized in the days ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't get the name, but a gentleman from Free Burma Coalition. Thank you. I agree with you that we, from people living in Myanmar, it's also our concern. Our biggest concern is about land security, and then also the foreign investment and the peace process to be successful. That's our greatest concern right now, and our situation is quite complex, and then we need to also resolve all this at the same time. So, however, it's complex. We need to handle all this economic advancement, the ethnic grievances, the issue of the rights of the ethnic nationals, the co-founders of the union, and all this they are all interlinked and intertwined, so they need to be resolved all at the same time. And as you rightfully said, there are still many other issues that has to be also addressed at the same time as well. So I think the political atmosphere at the moment is not quite mature, and with all these complexities and the needs, we really have to take the time and make sure that in the process all the stakeholders are involved, including the civil society sector. And then only I think we can move forward, because you also mentioned, and I fully agree, the poverty is mainly due to the ongoing conflict and displacement.
Thank you. Now, I have 3 questions that have been handed here earlier. And one is an interest in the reintegration program for soldiers. This is from Esther Suson of University of Asia Pacific. They would like to know how, if there is a reintegration program for the soldiers, and how is this being done? Soldiers from the armed conflict areas, does it mean the armed ethnic groups? Where is Susan? So you mean the reintegration of the armed units that were from the different ethnic groups?
Yes, but I'm asking about the soldiers from different ethnic groups. Thank you.
Ceasefires are not new to Myanmar. I'm a Kachin. For the Kachins, we have the experience of 17 years long ceasefire without resolving any other issues. So it's not surprising that resumed fighting again. It's surprising that the ceasefire lasted 17 years. For me, is that ceasefire alone will not resolve our underlying grievances and will not bring about lasting peace. Therefore, while we have the ceasefire, there should be a comprehensive peace process which the reintegration program and the demobilizing of soldiers of all sides should be part of the process. And I mentioned about demobilizing and reintegration successfully into the society is very important. Well, we all know that we have the budget, the national budget. Well, I would say not less than 40% has been used in conflict from both parties. And that as I earlier said, the poverty issue of many social problems is coming out of this circle of conflict as well. And therefore, when we demobilize soldiers, what we meant is that we are talking about not less than 500,000 troops combined. And this is an area that we need to address when we really want to transform the conflict and to really bring about lasting solutions in our country.
Thank you. May we invite Dr. Ferrer for a comment?
Well, actually, no doctor yet. Casualty of the negotiation. Just call me Miriam.
Miriam, okay.
So actually, that is a very important component of the work we're doing now in the negotiations. The Annex on Normalization will address the matter of what to do with the combatants of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. But as Dao Seng Rao rightly pointed out, it is part and parcel of a bigger comprehensive peace agreement, because we know that these people fought for a cause and that they will be willing to lay down their arms, not surrender. We don't use the word surrender. Lay down their arms because what will be provided will be that kind of meaningful participation in the political process of their communities, as well as socioeconomic benefits that can allow them to lead normal lives. So to that extent, yes, this is a very important component of the negotiations. We realize that it cannot be done only with reference to one group, because, Mindanao has several armed groups, and we're not just talking about the armed forces of the Philippines, but other armed groups that are involved in criminality, private armed groups that are under the payroll of local politicians, and so on. So again, even on this security matter, we are trying to approach it on a very comprehensive using comprehensive framework, where we will have to deal with the problem of loose firearms and so many armed groups all together, alongside the decommissioning of weapons and combatants of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front.
Thank you. I understand that Myanmar has 17 ethnic groups, and can you imagine how many armed men, or even women perhaps, are in this struggle, and how do you bring them back? So I'm so glad that we were able to make a parallel how difficult this problem is to address. And I remember talking to Lahpai saying that the ceasefire helped, but it can only succeed if it is sustained. And at this point, there are difficulties in sustaining the ceasefire, and therefore they need every help to make sure that promises made in those ceasefire would be respected. Let's come to something very personal, Lahpai. It says here, being a peace woman, advocate is there a childhood experience which motivated you to pursue this effort, despite socio-political and cultural odds in your country? May I add the succeeding question which came and said, why did you leave Meta? You are doing the right things. So I pose those questions to you.
I grew up among boys. I have grown up among 7 boys. I'm the youngest and only woman. And my father passed away when I was 10 months old. So naturally, a woman leading, well, it's very nature to me. So that might have influenced me leading an organization. But I think after 14 years, it's much too long for any person to lead an organization or any group. And I'm so glad that I could step down and do not need to look back, because I know I have a great team and system in place, and that they are all very committed people. Myanmar is rich with committed and capable young people. So we only need to tap them. And yes. So for me, I think it's a great pleasure and great honor that I have the privilege to be able to work with all these beautiful people. And by the time I leave, I also have a very clear conscience that I have given my all. And that's makes me very happy. Thank you.
You see, Myanmar people are very discreet. I have this experience. They are very reserved, very dignified, but I hope your question was answered. Thank you. There is an interesting one here. How optimistic, this is from Kevin Chung from Malaysia, how optimistic is Dao Seng Rao that democracy will prosper in Myanmar given the recent changes in government? What remains to be done? It's interesting that it comes from a fellow ASEAN who is keen to see how democracy is evolving in your country.
I did mention earlier also that democratization, the economic advancement, and the resolving the ethnic conflict are all linked. We cannot separate them. And so democratization, the process itself, will reach its goal only when we can address the issues of the underlying issues of the ethnic grievances. Without that, I don't believe there will be any democracy. I often remember the 60s when so-called democracy is in our country, and the country was open, and that foreign investments came in, and it was really open up for as a country. But then in the borderlands where we lived, the continued warfare, and yes, it also makes the development gap a big gap, because all the investment poured in only in the central plain and not in the in the ethnic states, in the borderlands, citing the instability issues. So the development gap only become bigger, and that also create conflict, unhappiness among the ethnic nationals. And you can see that before long, the military took over, and then this isolation started again. So to me is that democracy or democratization process must tackle all the issues that includes the ethnic problem solutions to the problems. Thank you.
May I? Okay, please. Question.
Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Gus Miklat. I'm with the Initiatives for International Dialogue, and we also do work inside Myanmar, Burma. I have a couple of questions, if you don't mind, 2 or 3 for Dao Seng Rao, and if I can ask also Professor Ye and Ambassador Delia one question each.
Could you sort of put them together, because we have a whole list of questions.
I'll endeavor to do that. Yeah, thank you. The first question, Dao Seng Rao, is there was a time that there was this perception that NGOs inside Myanmar who were allowed, quote unquote, to function before, during the dictatorship, were indeed allowed because they were not focusing too much on human rights, but more so on development work. But I would presume that inclusive development also includes the work for human rights. I would like to hear from you directly how you did this, if indeed human rights was also part and parcel, or at least the work for political human rights was part and parcel of Meta's work or other groups that you were part of. And in relation to Kevin's question earlier with regards to reforms, do you personally think that the process now inside Burma, Myanmar, will not regress to what was before? Will there be no turning back? And what will make it not turn back? With regards to Professor Ia, if you may, is there any one lesson you can take from the experience of Meta or the groups inside Burma that you can bring in the current peace process that you're doing? And I could also ask Seng Rao, is there anything that we are doing also here in the Philippines, in the peace processes, that you can bring back to Burma, Myanmar? And last, Ambassador Delia, while you were chairing the UN Security Council at the time, you did mention that you invited civil society to that session. I was just curious what happened and what did they contribute, and was there any impact, and did your example, was it followed through by the next chairs and everything?
It was a unique, may I, if I can, to quickly answer that. As I said in the opening, fortunately my initiative came in with the Cardoso report. The Cardoso report, in essence, which is very thick, and you're most welcome to Google it, and I think it's a very comprehensive study. Cardoso used to be the president of Brazil, I think, and he was commissioned to do exactly what has to be done. It's huge. We can't say it in 1 or 2 sessions. So this commission had to be set up, and they came out with the Cardoso report. In essence, it says that the United Nations should be committed to engage the civil society. And as the word said, it is a necessity rather than just an option. So you can have a whole list of follow-up actions there, and I would recommend very strongly that you go over the Cardoso report, which will give you in greater detail what has been looked into very, very well by this commission. I hope that answers a bit of your question, but I'm giving you homework to do the Cardoso report. Dao?
Meta Development Foundation was founded during the military government era in 1987, but officially recognition came in 88. And through these years, we have been working with communities affected by armed conflict. And when we said armed conflict, affected by armed conflict, we are working with all stakeholders. That includes local authorities, ceasefire parties, and the communities. That has really forged, I would say, partnership and also trust and understanding for us also to understand the the issues on the ground, and to get to know the people involved as well. I think that must be built the ground for Mitra to sustain even in the transition of the governments. And to me, if you ask me am I hopeful? Yes, I'm hopeful. I really believe that we are in the right direction in the process of transition. But as I've earlier said, there are still lots of work to still have to be accomplished. And ceasefire alone will not really guarantee the peace. And also just been parliamentary government to have it would not also represent all views of the all ethnic nationals. For example, in Kachin State, up to now we do not have any Kachin political party been registered and been involved. So the participation, how our people have been represented in the parliamentary system would also have to be improved. This is also an area of improvement. And also there have been ceasefires with many armed groups. Most of them have reached ceasefires for 2 years now. But that's there. And there's no advancement from ceasefire. There's no political dialogue. We need to have a dialogue. I would say the parliamentary system is one avenue, but then we need to also have a parallel to it to discuss about these ethnic grievances. And without that happening, it would be very difficult to really maintain these peace agreements. And I'm also very encouraged to hear about the Filipino experience, that you could bring in independent international monitoring mechanism into the process. But for us, that is still yet to happen. And this is something we should also to look at to make the process more trust building, because we have been having conflict for too many years. So the first thing we should do is that to forge a relationship, to build understanding, to build trust, and without the independent intermediaries, independent monitoring system at each step of the process, it would be very difficult to pursue the real peace.
Thank you. The question is addressed to Miriam.
Yes, thank you,
Will
Gar.
the meta model work in Mindanao?
I think I understand the question from Gus, who, of course, has also been following up the Mindanao process. The question was, what lesson can I take from Myanmar's experience? And actually, with regards to the current process now, to a certain extent, we are more advanced in so far as we have gone forward in creating the different mechanisms. Though Seng mentioned the international monitoring team and the different ceasefire committees that we have put in place to ensure that the ceasefire will be very effective. And then again, also the fact that we are moving towards the comprehensive political settlement. So to that extent, for most parts, we have addressed the question, what can Myanmar learn from the Philippine experience? And actually, several groups have come over to our office at the OPAP, Mon Liberation Group, the Karen Liberation Group, also conversations with the other groups to find out what they can get from our process and bring it to their process. But in any case, to answer the question, what can we learn from the Myanmar experience, I think we have to go back to the history where all these conflicts actually became in such a very intensified situation. And Burma's history tells us that there was an effort to address the fact of multi-ethnic societies in the beginning, right after their independence in 1945. But all the initiatives at the time to be able to resolve this question of how to construct a nation be able to coexist peacefully among the different ethnic groups. There were several attempts like the Panglong Agreement that laid the general framework, but in the end, this was overtaken by strongman rule. In other words, the democratic process was overtaken by the institution of a military government, and that definitely made it not possible to address these problems at a much earlier stage on the part of Burma. And it's only now, or Myanmar, and it's only now that the more constructive process of using peaceful means to resolve armed conflicts are being put into effect. So I guess the lesson is, let's guard this process. Let's make sure that no militarist intention or what we call the hawks in our government or outside government, that they are not be able to sabotage this process that we are undertaking, because we know that the military solution has not worked. It has only created the disasters and disunities that we are now trying to address. So guard this process, let the dove prevail, don't let the hawks take over it.
Thank you. Let's go to a very specific question here. While we have talked about peace, the ceasefire and peace building, the question asks for very specific activities of Metta to respond to the needs of the communities, specifically the families and children and women caught in the ceasefire, especially those who were traumatized by the situation. So it's coming to very specific examples that people would like to know that Metta has done.
Currently, we have some 100,000 internally displaced persons in northern Shan and Kachin state. And what do? We do exactly like in the communities. That means we work with each camp, and then also coordinate with other partners. There are also faith-based organizations and also NGOs, local NGOs, working with the IDPs at the moment. So it's about 7 organizations that are attending to the need of this 100,000 internally displaced persons. With them, what we do is that, as I've said, coordinate with the local organizations, and then look at the need of each camp. And each camp will need specific needs. There are children, most of them are elderly people, and then since now the time has now been over 2 years now, so the needs are more, how can we, make the time as best as possible to address also their, attending to the sufferings, not just physical, but also sufferings, trauma as well. And therefore, we do also like income generation projects, kitchen garden project, and then the committee, the IDP themselves have their management committee, and they do oversee their own, camp on their own, and then also like kindergarten operation as well as primary schools. So, when I said school, of course, it's not a real full school structure, but then that the children can attend certain educational opportunities, what can be attained in that current situation. So these are all these things we are doing, and including like food preservation, and mainly just to pass the time, and also we do planning in if we were to return tomorrow, and when there's peace, when there's all these ceasefires, and then also political issues are in process, then if they were to return, what would be their needs? This kind of protection survey have been already done, and then also to make them aware that it is their rights to set the conditions of why they are in the IDP camps, as well as about their return program.
Thank you. There is an interesting question for both of you. Is it possible to unite the different ethnic groups in your country? Would that be possible, Dr. Ferrer and Seng Rao?
We're trying. But we know we have to respect differences. I think that's the starting point. We have to respect different ways of life. We know that even within the same ethnic group, there will be differences. But I think the most important thing is to build the mechanisms and the institutions that will level the playing field, allow for that kind of wide participation of the different sectors. If many groups want political power, then let them compete for political power. Let them compete using democratic means, meaning they put up a good political party, they run for election. Elections are free and fair. Nobody cheats in the election, and the best person or the best group or the best ethnic group wins in that election. So this is the only way to address that kind of natural differences and disunities among peoples. Provide the mechanisms where peaceful means will be used to address issues of political power as well as issues having to do with more equitable distribution of wealth, so that people don't have to use arms, don't have to resort to political violence. I think that's the message here. Take the political violence away from our politics. Have a politics that is that is founded on democratic and peaceful means. And unity comes in different forms, in the same way that identities are also, they also change, they transform. There are no fixed identities for anyone. At one point in time, you are Muslim, another point in time, you are Filipino, or you are Moro, or you are a member of a clan. And sometimes we assume that these are forever differences that exist there, but there are many ways to bridge all of these differences. What's important are the institutions that will make this possible.
When ethnic nationals decided to live together and form a union in 1947, that spirit was that we live in equal partnership. So I think that spirit must be recognized and granted, and give all ethnic nationals in the union feel ownership of the union, and then also have all the equal rights as well, and that the country developed one part of the society or the part of the country, the development must be matched across the country. So if we would focus on that of equal share and giving all the ethnic nationals some type of autonomy to decide for their own areas development, that they can make their own decisions, and then I'm sure there would be a peaceful union in our country.
This is an interesting question, how you managed Meta's role in being able to get the trust of both the government and the ethnic groups. I think you were walking on eggs or hot coals when you are able to put the two distinct opposing forces together. How did Meta achieve this? Meaning getting the trust and confidence of both government and the ethnic groups so that you could operate in the areas where ceasefire was declared.
Through our past experience, and it is not also surprising that everyone, all leaders, want their community to develop. And I really must say that anyone have served in a battle lived through their comrades, among their comrades, injured, died. I really believe that they do want peace more than anyone else. So in that command platform of really attaining peace, really attaining development, I think we could forge many command base to work on the community development. So I really believe that I'm not, how shall I put it, it's not really working on a thin line. I really believe that there are certain areas that we really are together in that. That is finding the solutions and finding the development of our own communities.
Must admit it was dangerous ground to do that. There is a worry here, expressing worry that you are leaving the leadership of Meta. This means they have great confidence in you. What does this mean to Meta? What is the future of Meta if you are no longer there? That's a real concern.
Meta's success is not because of one stellar individual, I must say. And actually, I have stepped down 2 years ago, and the organization has been led by very capable young man who is with us here today, Seng.
May we ask him? He's the successor of Madame Lahpai.
He's the executive director of Meta Development Foundation since 2 years now. And also the transition, so to say, in how I, step down from the leadership role it's a process. Like all projects, it's a 3-year project, and because of Nagas, we need to extend another 3 years. So after all, it's a 6-year process of transition. And I think it's understanding of all the colleagues that it's about time to change, and that also understanding of the communities that the work of Meta is not just depending on the leadership at the top. It's also the work of all the staff and the community members all along. So I think that makes the change possible, and that, change has to come. Yes, thank you.
There's 2 more questions here, very specific. Should democracy prosper, does Daw Seng Rai think the Western model will work for Myanmar?
For me, is Western model, Asian model. I really do not differentiate. I think for us, what work will be having, like every other country, that they may have been taken as granted, that we should have our individual rights. And as I've said, we are multi-ethnic country. So all the co-founders of the country, all the citizens have their rights. And that the government in every level, central level, or the state level, regional level, must be accountable to and responsive to the needs of the people. And the participation of the in various levels of governments must be also a real participation, representing the people. So as long as we can do that, I think I wouldn't say it's not a Western the model or the Asian model. It's a model we could all embrace. Thank you.
Again, back to ceasefire. While ceasefire is looked at as a stopgap measure in peace processes, what would you consider would be the top issue that should be addressed by all convening parties to make it successful?
Ceasefires are with the armed resistance groups. These groups have been there since independence from British, and the underlying issues are political. So they should address the political issues of the ethnic nationals, the co-founders of the union. So even if you would discuss with one group alone, I think it affects everyone. So the more you can work together with all of them, is the better. Because if you would have left out one party not in the process, I think this would not give you enough stability to go through that process of the political process. A political process will take a long time. It cannot be done immediately, or can be done within a year or so even. So I think to get all the armed resistance groups in the process, and with the participation of the civil society, the people, that should be the way forward.
Thank you. And this is, I think, addressed to both our speakers this morning. And this must be a young man waiting for inspiration. What is your message for all the people present here, most especially the youth, as an encouragement for peace building? They want your formula.
Me first?
Miriam?
Well, to the youth, maybe just a short message. Do not lose your idealism. There will be many challenges that you will face, and many of these will challenge the principles, the good principles with which you were raised with. I think it's very important to keep grounded, to keep strong on your belief in the values of respect for human rights, all aspects of human rights, and also to be committed to be an agent of peace rather than an agent of disunity or violence. I guess that's all I have to say.
I would say the young generation here have much more, opportunities than our own back home. So you are so privileged to be here, and I really want to encourage you and not to be discouraged at all. And just keep to your goal and give your all. And then if you feel discouraged, just come to Myanmar, and then you are welcome. And we like interns, we like there are some few MA graduates, and even PhD students doing their thesis with us. So you are most welcome to come to us, and that will be a great opportunity for us all. Thank you.
Thank you both. But let's do the reverse today. Today the man has the last word. And I'd like to hear from the incoming, this is a surprise for him. We would like to hear from the incoming leader of Meta, who has been patiently listening to all the advice that he is supposed to take on. And may I invite you to join us here and introduce yourself to us. I believe in continuity, in sustainability, so I think it is good to give a face to an organization that we got introduced to this morning. And so, please.
Minglava, it's a great honor to be here. And it's very encouraging to see young generation to the, much older, respected aunties, uncles, brothers. We are having a lot of challenges in Myanmar at the moment, hearing a lot of issues from the ethnic conflict, poverty, to the inequality that we has to come. But I think many issues Myanmar is facing are also we can see across the region, like the cases Ambassador Albert is mentioning, and also Professor Miriam is mentioning about, like the pork barrel scam. I think many issues that is posed to the society, I mean ASEAN or Asian society today, we need to work together. And I also would like to express my gratitude to the people from the Philippines. Across the year in Myanmar, we have so many good friends supporting our work. Without the support of good friends, we wouldn't have achieved the success that we are getting now. And we have many Filipino and Filipina friends who is helping us. And here, a few of them are here. Luz, please. And like with people from the IID, we are working on a few issues. So the issues and challenges Myanmar is facing at the moment cannot be working alone. And I would like to express my gratitude again because of the solidarity and friendship that the people from the Philippines has shown all these years to us. And I heard a few questions about, what's the next step of Myanmar, what's the future vision. As a relatively young person, I would like to see a peaceful and harmonious and a prosperous country, as well as a peaceful and prosperous region. This is what we want to see. And for the future of Myanmar, we are still supporting the internally displaced people. But as Dr. Seng has mentioned, we would like to see a dignified return to their places after the peace is achieved. This is what we wish to see. And we will be working very hard on this, as well as be contributing force for the positive change in Myanmar. This is our future dream, and I hope we will still have your continuing support, friendship, and solidarity. Thank you very much.
I hope the youth got inspired, but inspiration is one thing, to be challenged and doing something about it is something else. So I hope that this session would have opened our thoughts and our ideas of how we in the ASEAN region could be of help to each other as we celebrate certain developments in our regional integration. And we can't afford a divided ASEAN where one member or two members are lagging behind the others. And I think this is something for us to think as well. There are a few more questions, but perhaps many of them overlap. So I would like perhaps later on if Dao Seng Rai would be able to accommodate them. There are questions from the Initiative for International Dialogue. Perhaps I can invite you briefly afterwards, because some of your questions really are related to some of the questions that were raised earlier, and that the answers were quite close to what you would have wanted to get clarified about. So at this point, I would like to close this session. And thank you all for coming. And again, a little advertisement where we have just organized the Magsaysay Institute for Transformative Leadership or we call it MITL. And this is one of the reasons I asked the successor of Madame Seng Rai to say something, because you would like to see this as a continuing effort, and that we would like to, with this institute, we would like to be a forum where former and present awardees of the Ramon Magsaysay, or we call them the laureates, will be able to share their individual contributions with the wider community like you, focusing on what we call creative solutions to issues that are facing the region in particular, and of course, humanity in general. So once again, thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day, and follow the developments in Myanmar or Burma. One question I would have wanted to ask, will Aung San Suu Kyi be the next president? But that's for the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our distinguished panelists. We would like to show our appreciation to Professor Miriam Ferrer for coming all the way here and sharing her insights and thoughts. Please accept our token of appreciation. Another warm of applause to Dr. Miriam Ferrer. Thank you so much also to our trusty moderator, Ambassador Delia Albert. We have another token for you.
I'm going to give it to myself.
And of course, to our awardee, we will give our love and our support. A warm applause to our 2013 awardee, Madam Seng. Okay, and we are all inviting you to the awarding ceremonies on Saturday. Please reserve that date. 4 o'clock at the Cultural Center of the Philippines. We will witness the moving rides where all the Magsaysay awardees will be presented to the public and receive their Magsaysay awards. So we hope to see you there. Thank you again for your time and hope that you will enjoy the rest of the day. If your day is still free, we invite you to stay. We have another lecture this afternoon by the awardee from Afghanistan, Governor Habiba Sarabi at 2 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Would there be anyone who want to take photo opportunity with our awardee and our guests? We will allot about 5 minutes for that. If you want, please come forward so you can take your photo with our awardee and our panelists. Okay. One more. Just the panelists.